Hey, happy Monday. Welcome to the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brock. Suns getting a dub last night. Sure, that the merchandise lot, 2-for-1 Sun shirts. You love to see that. Kyler Murray was courted Bo Brock. And I didn't help but wonder, watching K1 with Hollywood Brand, Justin Pugh's in the office as well. It's like, where are those good vibes for us? I need those good vibes, and I need them in pairing of Devin Booker and Murray.
Yeah, you'd like to see some sort of like common ground. We've seen Devin Booker lead the Phoenix Suns from 10 years of futility out of a rebuild, and here on the biggest stage, they had a finals appearance. They had a 60-win season, and now they've evened things out, which is absolutely legendary performance after legendary performance, as we'll get Johnny Venerable back up here. But, I mean, you can see as far as comps go, you know, both are going to be 26 this year. You've got Devin Booker already 26. You got Kyler Murray, who's going to be 26 in August. But obviously Devin Booker getting to the NBA at the age that he did, getting a few more seasons under his belt. But he went through a ton of losing before getting to this point. Kyler Murray kind of getting a little bit of a reverse on this. He had, you know, the bad season to start his rookie season. Then you had the 8-8 year, of course, the collapse at the end of his sophomore season. And then you had the Cardinals run to the postseason with an epic just collapse in the postseason. Then now it's like Kyler Murray, the Cardinals organization, are hitting the reset button, and they have to kind of go through this rebuild again and hopefully come out on the other side. So Kyler Murray, he's got a long way to go here, Johnny. And people, it's a polarizing kind of conversation to have. People don't like you to compare the two value superstars to each other. People think that Kyler Murray is far from the status of Devin Booker, despite them being similar ages, 25 and 26, respectively.
Well, it's not fair to Kyler Murray in this sense, is that Devin Booker, when he was drafted Phoenix Suns, they were not a team for what, half a decade? And then, like, right before the bubble playoff, right, they got hot and they missed the playoffs. But everybody's like on the cusp, on the cusp. Of course, the miraculous NBA finals run 3 years ago. That was 6 years of perennial losing for this franchise, and it took Chris Paul pairing Devin Booker to kind of get them over the hump. And it's Kyler Murray's been how long? Arizona. He's been in Arizona for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
One of it was a postseason berth, one of which was offensive rookie of the year. And so it's frustrating for Kyler just to say, like, number one, the less that I can control as opposed to Devin Booker 5-on-5 on the basketball court. And then number 2 is, well, can I have the amount of time that Devin Booker was given?
Yeah, no, and it's fair. It's fair to say and go to bat for the Cardinals franchise quarterback. And yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray, it's going to be, you'd love to say that he's going to get at least a little bit of a longer leash coming off of the serious knee injury, but there's going to be an expectation for him to come back and then regain the form that he had, you know, in going into his 3rd season and how he played those first 8 games of that season. Because even before the injury, I think there was a lot that people felt like they didn't see from Kyler Murray. They saw, no doubt about it, his toughest season as a pro, and he needs to get back on schedule. But as far as if he can get back on schedule, if he can hold up his end of the bargain, which is saying a lot. But if you watch the highlights and you see what he's capable of, you certainly know that he's shown glimpses of greatness. Then it's on the organization, and the organization needs to match him like the Suns did Book, right? I mean, as far as getting the right GM in there, they got James Jones after having Ryan McDonough for so many seasons and kind of being an unpopular figure and trying to navigate them through that rebuild and losing as much as they needed to and trust the process to steal from the Philadelphia 76ers. Get the right GM in there. They feel like they have the right GM now, Monti Ossenfort, and they feel like they have the right coach in Jonathan Gannon, and now is getting the players on par with Kyler Murray. Now, there's certainly been talent on the Cardinals roster. It's been very top-heavy talent, and if you had zero margin for error, I think one thing that Devin Booker has shown, that Kyler Murray has shown, I think, in his own right, just not as consistently, is the ability to elevate teams, right? And sometimes take teams that aren't necessarily as talented and put them in contending or competing spots. So didn't see that last year in such a what have you done for me lately league. I think that's where people are going to kind of hang on when we have this conversation here on May 8th, 2023, where Kyler Murray's got one of two different directions to go here. He can go continue to decline that he showed a little bit last year, or he can come back and go the other direction and trend in the right direction and trend up.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think Kyler Murray, though, I think it's a little bit unfair. The criticism that he's gotten.
Let's try your mic again. Somehow it got worse. I don't know.
It's gotten worse. It's still not getting worse.
Sounds like you're broadcasting into a tin can. Not sure what's going on there. So
have producer Shane take over for a hot minute. My
producer Shane is trying to take over.
My equipment has not changed.
Yeah, just stop talking. It hurts my ears. They're actually, I believe, I can feel liquid. I think it's blood is starting to pour out of my ears. I'm not sure what was going on there. We're going to try to get Johnny back on track. We'll just call it technical issues, right? Technical difficulties.
What's going on?
Oh, just case of the Mondays. Am I right?
Yeah, it's Mondays, right? Lasagna.
Let's hope this isn't what's in the forecast for Arizona sports the rest of the afternoon.
Are you a big Garfield fan?
I was pretty indifferent on Garfield.
You didn't read it in the comments?
But I don't understand. Here's what I'll say about I think where you're going with this is this feline hated Mondays, and he didn't even have a job. He didn't have any responsibilities.
That's true.
And he's sitting there and he's droning on about Mondays.
That was a flaw in it. I had a couple comic books. I drew a comic actually once.
Cool, man.
You want to hear about it?
No, I actually don't. Right. I actually don't.
Sorry,
I just look. You're Shane. You follow the Suns really closely. You've been through the 10 years of futility, and then for them to come out on the other side, and it's like we forget about those 10 years. And it's like the Arizona Cardinals are just starting on their own journey to be lame. But of that, like hopefully it's not as long, right? Because it feels like with the ownership and where you were limited there with Sarver back in the day, and as far as where the front office was limited, that the Arizona Cardinals at least can maybe have a head start on that and not completely waste a player of the caliber of Kyler Murray. And you had the luxury of wasting a few years of Devin Booker, and he's only 26 now.
Yeah, I think specifically with the Suns, it was kind of like a gradual descent into kind of an acceptance, like, okay, they're going to be bad. And they had to hit on a couple picks, and they had their Dragon Benders and their Josh Jacksons that didn't pan out. But the Cardinals, obviously, it's been like just a cliff. They've just fallen off. 1 year they're undefeated through however many games, and then 2 years later they are supposed to be the worst team in the NFL. It's crazy how the projection has changed so fast. Let's see if Johnny's working. Johnny?
All right. It's not my internet.
Here we go.
Okay. Now we're back. I was supposed to because I wanted to talk.
We're not back.
No, we're not back. It's a StreamYard problem. We got issues with StreamYard. Keep it going.
Shane was talking about the expectation for losing and setting that and taking down the expectations after a postseason appearance previous year, and then the bottom out at 4-13, and then people realizing okay, you got the quarterback right in 2019, but you didn't exactly follow the rules. You tried to buck the traditional rebuild, and it caught up with you. You didn't do it the right way. It's by drafting back-to-back first rounds inside linebackers. You didn't emphasize premium positions. You didn't look at you were able to get DeAndre Hopkins, but then you started to kind of go out there and you got not one, but two of your primary receivers are under 6 feet, which is not a good way to win in this game. So they win against the grain so far too often, and they didn't hit on that to where they have to hit the full reset and restart this thing this offseason. And we're in the midst of that. And when we have that's why these conversations are so unpopular. It's like, okay, Devin Booker, Kyler Murray, the two are not the same.
No.
You just don't feel like it's ever going to reach that point?
They just have such different paths. I mean, Book, obviously a much later draft pick, and Kyler being the number one. I hate to say it, but I think the comparison is closer to Kyler and DeAndre Ayton. I mean, like, and I don't think, I mean,
the video game thing.
No. But you look at the complaints, and they're very similar with fans. It's the drive, and does he even care about this team? And I think DAs are a lot more warranted, not as warranted as I think fans think they are, but more than what Kyler is. Like, there is no solid to what people think about Kyler Murray. I think it's a bunch of storylines that people want them to be, and I love the idea, and I love what it can be, but I don't think there necessarily needs to be such similarities between two of the stars in this state between sports. But I'm glad that they interact the way they do. Yeah,
there's some great synergy that's going on, and I don't think anybody can deny Kyler Murray saying that he doesn't kind of come to and embrace this community. They always want to kind of hold on to the crutch, like he leaves as soon as the final whistle blows on the season, heads back to Texas. But he's shown throughout this offseason, since since his knee surgery that he did have done by the Dallas Cowboys team doctor, who was world renowned for his ability to do these ACL reconstructions like he had, and then they got the stitch in the meniscus. Ever since then, he's been back in AZ for the majority of the time. He's been in Arizona. He, from the very jump with Jonathan Gannon, he embraces his new head coach. That was great to see. And then we've seen him at the facility. We saw him at Moeller Arena. He was there, just kind of a mixed, just kind of embrace to Kyler Murray. Was it a boo? Was there a smattering of cheers? He was there with his teammates watching a hockey game, watching the Coyotes in their season finale. And then he's been at the Suns game. He's been at the facility. He was at the George Strait, Chris Stapleton concert on Friday night, taking in country music. He's been in the Valley. He's been around. He's just like you and I. He's just somebody he's in the area consistently. And it seems like he's what the team has said, he's attacking his rehab. So it's like all these things that have been asked for of him at this point, he's doing. And then we're still very far away from the next step of this to just see how things go is when he returns to the playing field. And we're so far from that to where we can't even really make a true determination of what this thing's going to look like.
Yeah. And Book, luckily, has never, knock on wood, has never had to go through a rehab cycle quite like what Kyler Murray is doing. This is the worst injury in sports, and so you don't know how he'd necessarily respond to it. You would think he'd respond the same way. I mean, when Buck injures his hamstring like he has in the past, it's a quick recovery, and that can only speak volumes about what he does on and off the court with his body. And I think Kyler can treat it the same way. And you just hope that as a fan base, you could start to embrace your starting quarterback more. I don't know what the next step is and why it hasn't come completely to fans, but it's just still so early.
Yeah, winning fixes a lot of things, but
sure.
but
so
even
does
when
they were winning.
So just is with this organization, steps in the right direction would show the offense coming out and competing. Let's take a look at some of these chats. Most of them at Johnny's disposal here. So he's Jose saying Johnny's got the max 5,000. Corey's saying write a letter, Johnny. Upgrade to AOL. We've got. Let's see. Jalen Blair saying, crazy that Booker is already completed his 8th season in the NBA. He's been around a while. Needs to go out to a rising game when it's 100 degrees out. Let's see. Oh, he's talking about Kyler showing his commitment.
Dollar beer night. Man.
Yeah. Jalen, a new scheme system can do wonders for a player. Look at what McDaniel's offense has done for Tua.
Oh, can we talk about Tua?
Hoping Petzing not – we're not going to deep dive Tua here. Hoping Petzing's offense can do the same for Kyler. I think what Petzing's offense is going to do is he's going to take a little bit of pressure off Kyler Murray. He's going to put him under center. He's going to get to hand the ball off. He's going to go from a pass-heavy offense to more of a run-heavy offense. But, I think that's what the organization can do to alleviate some of the pressures that's been put on a quarterback that's been asked to do almost an impossible thing and elevate an organization that beyond just a roster, it's been dysfunctional from the coaching staff to the front office to ownership. And Devin Booker, I think that's where you can continue to look at the similarities is he had to deal with similar issues before Robert Sarver was a blind squirrel and found a nut in James Jones and somebody to properly build this. And it does feel like the Cardinals have found a guy in a roster architect and Monti Ossenfort that can do that. And same thing goes with Jonathan Gannon. But we haven't seen Gannon. We haven't seen Petzing. We haven't seen these things put in motion. But it also feels,
Book, obviously that bubble run is so unique and you can't really replicate that. But he was the face of the franchise, but he did build that culture. Like he led by example. And my question is, do you think Kyler does that? Do you think he tries?
Well, he's as far as what he's been asked of right now, he's done it. But these are easy things. These are layups, right? As far as showing up, rehabbing, those are just things that he has to do in order to just continue his career, to hit roster bonuses, to cash in on some of the things that he signed with his new contract, but also embracing the new coaching staff. Like you have to say, okay, that's good. That's a step in the right direction. But what are we going to see come training camp? What are we going to see come preseason? Does he change his perspective as far as how to approach preseason? And then what's going to happen, when he gets back and the Cardinals are undermanned roster wise? They don't stack up, as far as just talent wise against the rest of the NFL as of right now. Like, how is he going to deal with, are we going to see the same Kyler on the sidelines that gets criticized, way too much? But I don't think, it gets criticized so often that you have to defend him just to get to a neutral ground. So
here's another question too. Do you think that losing like Book did with a 19-win season helped instill that also? Do you think Kyler needs to have a rock bottom?
I think there was obviously that was a necessary evil. Like this organization was just not sustainable. You didn't want to run it. Like it was even dangerous that they were running it back after an 11-win playoff appearance. It seemed like in hindsight, anybody could see that was the wrong move, that they weren't doing things the right way. And then now, like, this is a chance to do things right. Now, you feel like you have the people in place, but everybody looks good, in shorts on practice field. And as far as just making moves, like as far as rebuilding, winning four games, you're given a ton of draft capital already. You're drafting at the top of each round. They're clearing cap space, so they'll be able to rebuild the roster. And those are things that you can easily do. But then it comes the time, like you saw a Ryan McDonough for the Suns who didn't really know how to evaluate talent outside of the Booker pick at 13th overall. You saw him struggle. You mentioned Dragon Bender. You mentioned Josh Jackson. Those were two top 5 misses. What was Jack? Both were 4th overall, right?
I think so. Bender might have been 3. I still remember where it was when Bender.
That was a bad draft. That was the Giannis draft.
Yeah. That's how bad the pick was.
So if Monti Ossenfort can be, as bad as McDonough was, in James Jones has been good, where he's hit on guys like Mikal Bridges, like Cam Johnson, that they were parlay into more talent on this roster. If Monti Ossenfort can do the same thing for the Arizona Cardinals roster, it makes life for Kyler Murray a little bit easier. But a game like the Raiders game could be like the Clippers game,
right? Like when he hit that game winner. That's comparable.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you could probably point to another performance in Kyler Murray's career where, he put up 5 total touchdowns. I don't know if that's still, the NFL equivalent to 70 points. That's probably a 7 touchdown game. But it might be unfair at this point to make the comparison. But as far as, the talent that we've seen on display with Devin Booker and Kyler Murray, and, obviously there's other things that go into it, that Kyler Murray can be the franchise quarterback to take the Cardinals out of the rebuild. And it's just going to be where they are in the stages of the rebuild. This is the very beginning of it, to where Devin Booker, I think that they realized that they got lightning in the bottle in the middle of this 10-year brutal stretch for the Suns organization, a time that they'd never seen. And they say, oh, we hit on somebody. Okay, we can build around him. And it seems like the Arizona Cardinals have decided to do that. It's just now they're going to do it where they're going to have to pay a ton of money in doing so. We're still trying to figure out, is Johnny just done for the day?
No, he's figuring it out.
He's figuring it out? Okay,
Yeah.
He's restarting his computer. It's I think it's like a Matador 360. It should take
some Alienware,
a
maybe.
couple hours. I appreciate everybody dealing with us, hanging in with us. Let's see, what do we got here in the chat?
Somebody said, "Don't forget Kelly Oubre helped."
Oh, Kelly, he did.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah, you can't deny that.
Tsunami Poppy.
That was the Valley Boys, right?
Yeah, that was the Valley Boys. Mike Levins still believe he will be gone in 2 years.
The pressure goes up if you have the number 1 pick. What do we got? Jose said, Jalen Blair, one of the big difference, Booker plays a game where he can take the game over if he wants to, where Kyler plays one of the most dependent positions in sports. Yeah, no doubt about it. He can't throw and catch it himself. One area with that Kyler Murray has to get back to is throwing the deep ball. He was brutal last season. I think Walter Sharp, who does some great football breakdowns, analytics, goes deep into the stats. Kyler Murray was 10 for 46 throwing beyond 20 yards last year. 10 for 46, that's like 20%. That's just, Kyler Murray used to be known for his deep ball accuracy, where he was highly successful in 2021. He fell off a cliff in 2022. Now that, you got the 2 high looks that became popular last year that kind of took him out of his game. And then you also had Cliff Kingsbury not really making any adjustments as well. That didn't help out Kyler Murray's cases at all either. What else do we have?
D-Hop?
Any news on D-Hop? I mean, it remains the same. Last thing we've heard about DeAndre Hopkins was from Ian Rappaport on Pat McAfee, saying it just feels like they're moving forward together. The Arizona Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins. Sean Paul Edwards de Dios saying his regressions on his deep ball. It was shocking. And that was what I was getting into. There was Sharp had taken 18 Kyler Murray's longest throws last year. He connected on 1 for 18 on his longest throws. And that was a spot when they were cooking in 2021. Kyler Murray was hitting for deep, big splash, big play ability from Kyler Murray with his arm. And then also saw, in the red zone, teams had the ability to take his legs away. So Kyler Murray, I mean, his big play ability, it has to come back in order for him to kind of be that franchise signal caller that everybody remembers him to be. Can he get back on track doing that? We want to help you get back on track. Obviously, over the weekend, Kentucky Derby was big. The Suns evening the series at 2 games apiece. And if you were in on any of those and you hit on those, congratulations on the BetMGM app. It's, of course, the official sports book of PHNX. Use the code PHNX when signing up for BetMGM this season. We'll be using the BetMGM lines to make all our picks. We'll have special offers to our listeners each and every week. We've got some great things going on. Of course, the Suns playoff watch parties continue tomorrow as they've got Game 5. They're going to be presented by our friends over at Neutral. We've got happy hour pricing, $6 Rally the Valley margaritas. Great food there. Just had some of the lollipop wings while we were out there on Friday doing our cornhole event. Also had the incredible burger that they've got. So the Knockout Nights Cornhole League over the BetMGM Sportsbook. It's the venue where we're going to be hanging out all fall next year, all 2023 season for the Arizona Cardinals. Come hang out with us. We're going to have so many different specials going on. Make sure to hang out with us. Make sure you sign up. Use that BetMGM app and use that bonus code PHNX. Check the show notes for the details, but of course, listen to Shane break it down with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Unbelievably well done, Shane.
Yeah,
there
that was live.
Nice job. Yeah, you hit that Micro Machines guy speed. It was unbelievable. Four Peaks, also unbelievable. Talk about a great place to go take in a game, whether you're watching the D-backs, you're watching the Suns, you're watching the Coyotes next season. It's a great place to go check out any sporting event. Of course, they got all the beers that you want. Great event going on soon. Four Peaks for teachers. Teacher Appreciation Week started up today. Thank a teacher, nominate them, win grants, Four Peaks swag, grand prize, custom makeover for their teachers lounge at their school. Go to fourpeaksforteachers.org and nominate a teacher to donate. And of course, they're teaming up for their Four Peaks for 4 seats. One lucky winner will get 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondbacks game. Tickets for the tickets with D-Bucks. Grab some food, some ice cold wow, some Hop Knot, and then check out the game. You can find more info on that at Four Peaks Brew on Instagram. The link in their bio. Check out Four Peaks Brew at Four Peaks Pub as well. Keep up with the latest Arizona's hometown brewery. Got to be 21 years or older. Drink Four Peaks. Please, of course, drink responsibly. But Four Peaks synonymous with the Valley of the Sun, just like all your favorite sports teams at PHNX. So today, Kyle Odegaard, he dropped an article on compare.bet, and he was basically outlining what life has been like for Kyler Murray and the new coaching staff at the team facility in Tempe. And we've all seen it on full display. We've been talking about it a lot here on PHNX Cardinals, Johnny and myself, where this new regime has been embracing their franchise quarterback. It's been odd to see a franchise hit the reset button and kind of do it, because when we talk about book, it's easy to do it in basketball when you've got a roster from 12 to 15 guys, but to do it with one guy in football, where, you know, in an offseason where DeAndre Hopkins' name has been bandied about and heavily rumored to be leaving, and Budda Baker's requested a trade, everything that you thought you knew about Arizona Cardinals football and some of the certainties are no longer certain. But the one thing we know for sure, despite one, erroneous report from a guy who claims to be an insider, but he just hosts a betting podcast saying that the Arizona Cardinals were talking to the Atlanta Falcons about a draft day trade, despite the team basically embracing their franchise quarterback, that Monti Ossenfort was the guy that was hired to build around Kyler Murray, and Jonathan Gannon was hired to be the head coach to lead Kyler Murray back to prominence and back to playing at a high level, and Drew Petzing was going to be the guy that he was going to work with on the offensive side of the football to help him do so. It would be pretty silly, for them to go to Norman, Oklahoma, celebrate Kyler Murray at this Heisman Trophy award, statue unveiling, and then just trade him like 2 weeks later. It didn't make any sense. And of course, the contract wise, it's nothing that the Cardinals could have realistically even absorbed dead cap money wise. So it was a ridiculous report, but Kyle kind of painted a picture that we've been doing all off season long about, how this organization is finally embracing him, and Kyler Murray is answering back by embracing this organization as well and doing everything that within his power to get back. And Jonathan Gannon told us, Johnny and myself, this at the combine, that Kyler was chomping at the bit. He's maintained that to get back as soon as possible. He wants to be practicing with his teammates now, but it's the organization is being ultra cautious with it, and that they're not going to mess around, and they're going to make sure that he doesn't come back too early or do anything that could compromise his long-term health. We're getting Johnny back here as I've droned on and on for this poor audience.
No, I apologize.
Kyler Murray.
We've had some unfortunate technical difficulties. I'm not going to say it's, May 8th on an off-season Monday is the best time to do that, but how's the audio?
You sound great.
Oh man, I've missed you guys. This has been the longest 20 minutes of my professional life. It's good to see everybody hanging and banging in the chat. What are we talking about? Kyler Murray, Devin Booker and company, or
we
Kyler
got
Murray's
through
legacy?
Kyler Murray. We talked about the BetMGM Sportsbook. We talked about Four Peaks. We were talking about Kyler Murray's or Kyle Odegaard's article on Kyler Murray, just kind of where he outlined a lot of the things that we've been discussing this offseason. And just that, he's going to be chomping at the bit and the organization is going to try to slow him down. But, there's been nothing but all parties embracing each other in this situation.
Well, I'm going to give you some insight that I wanted to share at the top of the show that I got before the show, just to kind of play on this narrative with Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray, I know for a fact, Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon have bonded to some degree over kind of the vitriol hate and kind of the lashing that they've gotten from, let's just call them segments of the internet. And in Gannon's case, you don't think he's going to thrive being able to prove people wrong in his ex-franchise, his ex-city in Philadelphia. And then the same thing goes with Kyler Murray. I think the underdog mentality, the combination of Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon, cannot be overstated enough. That those two individuals feel scorned. I'm not saying Kyler Murray feels scorned by Cardinal fan base. I think for the most part, Cardinal fans love Kyler Murray. They want to see him succeed. I think it's more so the shots that he's taken on and off the field for like the last 18 months, those have been festering as he works his way back from a torn Achilles. And then with JG, it's just like, here's a guy that a lot of people, I mean, they have very similar parallel stories. It's like Gannon, hot commodity, and then suddenly everybody turns on him. Kyler Murray, hot commodity, a lot of people turn on him. And it's like, okay, what are they going to do, specifically Kyler Murray, in his second act? And I think they're kind of segmented simpatico reality here come this fall at State Farm Stadium is going to be very beneficial for Cardinal fans, for the Arizona Cardinals in particular, because you've got two individuals. These aren't fat and happy people. These are people that are driven not only by, finances and legacy and success, but to prove people wrong. That is the greatest motivator, I believe, in professional sports, when you can go out there and say, what's being said about me, what's being talked about me, inner circles around the NFL, around the media. Pro Football Talk has an article about JG or Gannon seemingly, or Kyler Murray seemingly every day. It's like, how can I push back on these narratives by winning football games? And I think they're going to do a lot of that together.
Yeah, it's a absolutely just huge chip on everybody's shoulder right now.
Yeah.
And you hope that the motivation is going to be met with the same, I guess, attitude towards preparation, because I feel like that's what's going to be necessary to kind of overcome where they are at this point in the rebuild to surprise anybody. So, but no, I can see absolutely that they're similar as far as how people have counted them out, despite the successes that they've had at this level. For people to just brush off the nearly historic defense that Jonathan Gannon coached up, and for people to brush off the first 3 seasons of Kyler Murray's career is pretty crazy. But it's a what have you done for me lately league, and Jonathan Gannon, like nobody will put in perspective that one of the, probably at the end of the day, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and his offense came back against Gannon's defense on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl to beat him, to beat out his defense. And he's been scapegoated. And, I think Kyler Murray hasn't been completely scapegoated as far as how this organization bottomed out. And I'm glad that he wasn't, because they've identified that if they're going to move forward, obviously they're attached to him with the contract, but that they need to embrace him and get him back on track to give them the best chance moving forward, especially at that position.
Rashad Newhouse in the chat. I think this is a pretty common theme. I'm an NFL fan, though, just not a Cardinal fan specifically. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona is looking hard at one of these two quarterbacks at the top of next year's draft. Again, I think that we're very much in the mindset that if the Cardinals have the number 1 pick, either by their pick or Houston's pick for Caleb Williams, like that's going to be a serious reality that everybody's going to probably have to get on board with. Outside of that, I don't think that they would entertain Drake May over Kyler Murray. I don't think there's an appetite for that. I think there's a much more realistic chance of a trade down, accumulating more picks. Do I think both these picks are going to be relatively high? I think there's a good chance, especially one of them. I think Houston has a better shot to have a worse record because of the fact they play in the QB-rich AFC, whereas the Cardinals play in the NFC and they have a fourth-place schedule, and we don't know about their division, outside of San Francisco. Let's not count our chips or chicks before they hatch, our chips before we cash out, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think there's so much football to be played. Do both of these picks figure to be incredibly valuable? Absolutely. But I will push back. I'm like Peter King, and we were going to talk about this in a different segment, but I wanted to bring it up. Peter King put out his power rankings, which I could not give two shits about, but I got tagged in it and people DM me about it. And I'm not going to say Peter King is irrelevant in the year of our Lord 2023 football lords, but Peter King's kind of irrelevant now. Peter King puts out his power rankings, and he has the Cardinals dead last, which is not uncommon. That's fine. You want to put the Cardinals last. And he has his own tier for the Arizona Cardinals in dead last. You know what it says? Check back in 2025. Check back in 2025 before we can talk about the Arizona Cardinals again. You don't think Gannon and Kyler Murray and everybody sees that? You've got a quarterback who's going to be healthy at some point. He's making almost $50 million. Let's just punt on this franchise. Check back in 20. That's laughable. It's laughable. And the quickest way to expedite a rebuild is exactly what Monti Ossenfort's doing. It's accumulating draft capital and flushing it on the field. But I'm sure if you looked at the Seahawks, Bo, this time last year, there was a lot of that going on. So it's one person's opinion.
I'd hate for people to check the receipts on what the horrendous things we said about the Seahawks and poke fun at them and just had a lot of fun at their expense, thinking, hey, this is going to be a top 5 selecting team. Now they did select top 5, but with Denver's pick, and that's right. That's also funny. But I mean, you can, by hitting on draft picks, by accumulating what Monti Ossenfort was able to accumulate in future assets, draft capital, you can kickstart a rebuild. And, it's not the NBA. That's where things do change, where it's not where you're going to be bad for 5 seasons. If you do things right in the NFL, you can quickly churn a roster and get back to relevance, not contending, probably not playoff contention, but competing week in and week out, putting forth efforts that fan bases are going to be, excited about because they can see the light at the end of the tunnel by the players that you've drafted and developed onto your roster. I think it's a little unfair and that's a little bit old school mentality by Peter King, by an older guy, that it's going to take, check back in 2025. I mean, by 2025, there could be really, really a lot higher expectations for this organization if things go right.
Like, you're not paying Kyler Murray, regardless of what you feel about Kyler Murray, to be average or to be below average, right? When he's healthy, you gave him that money to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to be paid like a top 10 quarterback. So by default, if you're getting top 10 quarterback play out of Kyler Murray, and Jonathan Gannon is not a disaster head coach, which we do not feel like he's going to be, and they can churn this roster and make it respectable in 18 months, there's no reason to believe. Listen, I think they're going to overachieve this fall. To what extent, I don't know. I need to see if Kyler Murray is bouncing around at training camp. Where's DeAndre Hopkins, right? I think there are so many factors that make it interesting, albeit, intriguing ahead of our schedule release show on Thursday. But it's like, well, how many games can you project this franchise to win? I think they're the biggest wild card in the entire NFL because of Murray's injury, Hopkins, Budda Baker. Like, those are premium NFL players, perennial Pro Bowl, all-pro players when they're healthy on the field. And in Murray's case, he plays the most important position. They could have none of those entities by midseason, or they could have all of those. And that is going to, newsflash, impact their win-loss total.
Let me point this out. I think this is a great comment from Jose in the chat saying once Gannon gets some games under his belt, other narratives will take its place. I think Gannon being able to be a head coach where the expectations are very low is so good for him. So great for JG. And I know he says he cringes when he hears rebuild, but there is more to just putting on the headset, being the CEO, delegating, obviously, offensive play calling to Petzing, taking over, and Rollis on the defensive side, and being confident in your coaching staff and obviously your own abilities. But there's a big difference to when you're out there and you're making all these decisions as a head coach, because there is a learning curve. He is going to take his lumps. He is still a relatively young coach at 40 years old, to where he's going to have to go through it as well. And why not, with the expectations being as low as they possibly could?
Yeah.
And the only thing that he can do is surprise people. Really, like, that's the only direction he can go. Like, I don't think anybody be like, "Oh, I thought it was going to be bad. I didn't expect it to be this bad."
Well, and can we talk about like the teams that picked in front of Arizona this year before Chicago traded out? Like, people are picking Matt Eberflus to be a top coach in the NFC this year and going to the playoffs. They were the worst team in the NFL last year. The Chicago Bears were awful. They had the worst record. Everybody's like, "Oh, Eberflus. Look at Justin Eberflus." No, like, and then look at the team that was picking ahead of them. Houston. There were people who were like, "Let Lovie Smith keep his job. It's only been 1 year." But, you know, God forbid Jonathan Gannon wins like 6 games in his first. People are going to be like, "This is unbelievable. Get rid of this guy."
Right.
It's like, no. You have preconceived notions. Keep that same energy with the Eberfluses of the world. You remember what Dan Campbell did his first year? Now, he beat the shit out of the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury in December that first year. They were like 0-11. They were awful. And everybody's like, keep the track, keep steady. Dan Campbell, we're bought in. It's like, people are going to have their narratives. If you can, and this is where I'll give Cliff Kingsbury credit. Outside of his first year, he kind of lost me. Remember Cliff's first year? They had a clear direction. They played hard. The offense got better. The offense went from historically bad to like 13th via Pro Football Outsiders. You could see a vision of what they wanted to do. And most importantly, he was getting the most out of Kyler Murray. So it's like, it didn't matter if the Cardinals that first year with Cliff Kingsbury won 4 games, 5 games, 7 games. Like, you could see the maturation process. And we're going to take that same approach with Jonathan Gannon. The team in September, hopefully, is going to look radically different come November in a better way than Cliff Kingsbury's team. So the barometer, I'm with you. Like, there are going to be so many people that write this team off. And I think we're all kind of predicting minimal, if any, primetime games on Thursday. And then you could look up and say, hey, this team's competitive. This team's fun to watch. Oh, look, the NFC is awful. And there's 3 wildcard teams, and they're around 500 come November, and Kyler Murray's back. That's why I feel like before we can talk Caleb Williams, and even me, I'm guilty of it, Marvin Harrison Jr. and back-to-back, take a beat.
Oh, man.
Remember
Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Take a beat and remember who's on this roster. And Cardinals, AZ Cardinals, round 11. Saying right now,
the Draft Network, those dirty dogs, they did a uniform swap or whatever you call it. They photoshopped Marvin Harrison Jr. into a Cardinals new red uniform. Oh my God, that thing went so hard.
Is there any doubt that those, like, can we talk about the fact, like, is there any doubt those 2 players are going to go 1-2, or do you think there's a chance that Drake May goes 2nd overall?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance if there's a quarterback needy team out there. I mean, you've got those wild cards, like Washington's betting on Sam Howell this year. You know, what happens in Atlanta with Desmond Ridder?
Are those real tank jobs? People are bitching and moaning about the Cardinals. Is Washington, with a transition of ownership, purposely tanking for Caleb Williams, starting Sam Howell, and then with Arthur Smith on the hot seat, with what's going on in Atlanta? Like, those feel like purposeful tanks. Whereas the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals are purposely tanking.
I mean, I think the real conversation, and when Adam Schefter says the Arizona Cardinals can control the 2024 draft, like, being so bad to be in the position, even with 2 first-round picks, with teams with expectations like the Cardinals and the Texans, like, realistically, they control it for players like or beyond Caleb Williams. Because even you could tell a team, if they needed a quarterback, or we've said this before, like, how many teams wouldn't consider Caleb Williams? There's probably 5, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you've got, 28 other or 27 other teams in the league that are going to think long and hard about it. Are they going to do? And then there's going to be the handful of teams that you couldn't give me enough future draft capital or anything for us to trade out of this position. But where the Cardinals can control things is if they want Marvin Harrison Jr. and they're sitting at 4, they could get up to 2 or 3 if they wanted to with their draft capital.
Yeah.
Right? They can control things. Like, it's going to come to, I mean, Caleb Williams is going to be who's going to bottom out, who's going to be really, really bad, who's going to be nearly unwatchable in 2023. And
it's hard.
You don't want that for your team. You don't want for that for your team.
Well, I don't want it for the fan base that had to watch whatever that was last year, especially 7 straight losses. I mean, even the wins for the Cardinals, no shows in the first half against the Raiders, right? the only complete performance they had all year, it really felt like, was that LA Rams win. And a fellow team that was kind of bottoming out. So yeah, I mean, I don't wish that on Cardinal fans. We don't, let's be clear. We don't root for losses on this show, but when draft season rolls around, it's December and this team's starting Trace McSorley, we hint, nudge, nudge at losses en route to getting the top 3 pick in the NFL draft. We're going to talk about the Cardinals and where Mike Clay of ESPN feels like their receiving core ranks. The answer might surprise you, but first, so I was at Circle K over the weekend and I was loading up on my snacks and goodies. So I did a 2-parter at Circle K. I went and saw the new Guardians of the Galaxy with my 8-year-old. And before I went to Circle K, it was fantastic. 10 out of 10, maybe the best in the trilogy. And I loaded up on snacks and we lined our pockets because, you know, here in Maricopa at the Action Casino, they pat you down. They're like, what's going on here? You got
what?
So they're like, you got Skittles in there, you got red vines in there. So we got to be strategic where we hide our candy. I go and I load up at Circle K. You know, I got the cargo shorts on. We're good to go. Don't give me that side eye. So we loaded up our candy, and then I did a 2-fold. I had leftovers and my energy drinks ready to go from Circle K for Suns and Nuggets game 4. So Circle K is where I go for all of my snacks and, you know, most of my shopping, let's be frank, here in Maricopa, because I absolutely love Circle K. You should too. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff right now. Text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club. Get a buy one, get one free offer on a 32-ounce Polar Pop. Again, head to circlek.com/store-locator. That's circlek.com/store-locator to find the Circle K nearest to you.
We need like a Shane Diefenbach disclaimer saying do not smuggle Circle K goods into local movie theaters as well, and wherever you smuggled them. And it's a 100-degree day? Are you wearing like a big puffy jacket with a bunch of Circle K goodies underneath? Like, what are you doing here?
I wasn't repping the pipes. I wasn't.
No wonder they patted you down. It's like this guy is clearly trying to smuggle in at least a couple pounds of Circle K goodness.
Of Swedish fish, of gummy bears, score bars, right? Redfish. The Swedish fish.
You're right.
Yeah, the Swedish fish is lesser than the redfish at Circle K. But for real, like we have partners, we use them all, we love them all. Like Circle K is legit 5 seconds away from my house, and I'm there every day.
Yeah. If you could legit smuggle in Circle K shirtless, then I got something for you coming up right now. I'm talking about our friends over at Manscaped.
Okay.
If you can smuggle in goodies into the movie theater and you're not wearing a shirt, you've just got a fur sweater from your chest hair and your back hair or wherever, you need to get in on the performance. There you go. You need to get that performance package 4.0. That means you get the lawnmower 4.0, which is waterproof. You got the cordless body trimmer. You got the advanced skin safe technology. That means no nicks for you. You can fearlessly manscape your body. The Weed Whacker 2.0. Nobody likes nose hairs. And pulling nose hairs, the single most painful thing in the world. It will bring a tear to my eye immediately. Crop preserver, and of course, crop reviver. That you got the ball deodorant, the ball toner. Of course, you want to tone things up. And anti-chafing. We got 2 free gifts going on. How about the Shed travel bag? That's a $39 value. And a patented Manscaped boxers. Nice. You got to check it out. Also, if you're wearing sandals and it is sandal season, it's been for a while, you got to clean up those nails. Some of us have some ugly nails. Get those Shears 2.0 nail kit. Get those things nice and cleaned up, and people won't be disgusted when you have your toes, your little piggies showing in movie theater, wherever you may be. Check things out. Get 20% off. Free shipping with the code PHNX at manscaped.com. Use the code PHNX at manscaped.com. Get 20% off. Free shipping with the code PHNX, manscaped.com. Trim your testicles. Trim your chesticles with the besticles.
Burn this tape. Burn this show. Burn this tape. Good Lord. Who's producing? Is Emma back there?
Emma is just beside herself. She's disgusted with us.
First of all, I didn't know that you guys like trimming nose hairs that was like a thing
You
that
got
you
to pluck
guys
your nose
Emma.
hairs, yeah.
that you guys do. I didn't know
I-
that was a thing.
There's not a part of me that I don't have to trim if I choose to. Ears, eyebrows, nose, everything. I check.
Ears?
Yeah.
The
Oh
fuck
yeah.
do you mean ears? There's
I'm a
hair growing out of your
full-blooded
ear?
Italian man, all of 5', 6.5. I don't have I got hair everywhere. I'm as hairy as they get. So real talk, my lawnmower 4.0 gets so much use at my household, it's absurd. Like I use my lawnmower all day, every day. When I'm not on air, I'm lawnmowering it up. You know what's the worst thing is when the hair on the feet. I don't have hairy feet, but if you've got hairy feet, the lawnmower 4.0 will take care of that real quick. So this is, is it too much information or is it just right for this show here on a Monday? I want to get to the super.
Just right.
I think so too. Trim and testes, Han, $1.99 super chat. Can't wait for Caleb and Marvin next year. Listen, we're going to get to a point next fall, the next fall, October, November, when we can have those. We can have those conversations or not. And I think it's a win-win. Cards are more competitive than we think. Hell yeah. Cards aren't great. Houston's not great. Let's get our binoculars out and look ahead to April and check out Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. And we're going to be diving deep into the prospects this fall to keep things honest with you as it relates to the Cardinals and just their bounty of picks next year. You absolutely love to see it. But in the meantime, Bo, Mike Clay of ESPN, who has sometimes shit on this franchise for good reason, put out his rankings of top receiving units in the NFL. Just receiver, not tight end, but just receiving units. And how about this? Arizona Cardinals, albeit with DeAndre Hopkins, who may or may not play for them, 6th best in the NFL, ahead of teams like the Chargers, who have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnson, ahead of Tampa, ahead of the Raiders. He's got the Cardinals with D-Hop, Rondale Moore, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch as a top 6 receiving unit in the NFL. How about it? We're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think you can even move him up to 5.
Yeah, I think Brandon Cooks is a little cooked, and I think Michael Gallup is fine.
CeeDee Lamb is obviously emerging.
Yeah.
What do you have? 1,200 yards, 100 receptions last year. So, but yeah, Brandon Cooks a little bit long in the tooth. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously with the qualifier that you get healthy Hop, and Hollywood Brown.
Yeah,
that 1-2 tandem can be solid. And then it just depends on if you can get Rondale Moore out of the training room. And same goes for Michael Wilson. And, you got a guy in Greg Dortch that's going to compete each and every down. I think that they could definitely be a top 5 unit. And then, look at these other ones. It's
Seahawks are overrated. Can I just say that? Like,
you think they're a top 5 group for sure, though.
You think so?
They're not better than Miami.
I don't think they're better than Philadelphia. I would take Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown over Metcalf and Lockett tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
And Jackson hasn't played in the NFL.
On the line, when the game is on the line, I would much rather take a Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown over a Metcalf and Lockett. And
Jackson Smith,
we don't know,
hasn't played.
JSN.
Yeah, he hasn't played a snap yet in the NFL. Man, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, like, you have the best receiver probably in football, and what are you doing behind him? I know they took Addison, who's small. Osborne's fine; he's a good player.
And Miami's doing it with 2 guys because the rest of the guys Robbie Anderson is on that list. We know that he has no business being. I mean, Braxton Berrios played a little slot for the Jets for a while, but it's all about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and that's all.
Yeah, these teams are. I mean, most of these lists are top heavy. I would say the Cardinals have probably the best chance at a lot of those teams with their list. Like, we all feel like, okay, let's fast forward. Let's play hypothetical here. Kyler Murray's healthy. D-Hop's on the team. Hollywood Brown's healthy. Like, that's a phenomenal duo that we thought we were going to get last year. I don't think there's any reason to not believe, that if Greg Dortch plays like he did last year and he's your number 3 receiver, like, Greg Dortch should have over 500 yards receiving. That's a damn good number 3 receiver when you figure that Hollywood and D-Hop are your top 2. Like, Greg Dortch, to me, if they just said, enough, Rondale, we're not having it anymore. We're not having you torpedo game plans. We're not having you in the training room. We're just going to commit. Greg Dortch is our number 3. And then Michael Wilson's, subbing in. They're doing some special team stuff. And those are your top 3 guys. I would put that group against most groups in the NFL. Because I think, of course, D-Hop 1,400 yards, Hollywood Brown 1,100 yards, and then Greg Dortch. Man, Greg Dortch with targets 500 to 700 yards. I think consistently. I think he would be very, very solid slot receiver.
Or if Michael Wilson emerges, the good thing is you flooded that wide receiver 3 with numbers.
Yeah.
Our guy Max came in. He's informing us that we've lost all sponsorships from this show because of this show.
We've
show. Lost every single sponsorship that we've talked about today.
This is quite the show. This is gonna go in the X-Files. It's the dark web show.
It's gonna be scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah.
Like you're just just made a trimming joke. Off air. Yeah, it was a dad joke.
One of these days, man. One of these days, you'll just I you know what? To be serious here,
how many games did we get last year of Hollywood and DeAndre Hopkins on the field together?
I'm going to say over under is 3. Well, how would you feel if I said that? Because remember, Hollywood immediately got hurt.
Yeah, so he injured himself. He got injured in Seattle, and then D-Hop came back in week 7 for the Thursday night game. Went crazy. And then we didn't see Hollywood Brown until after Mexico in late November.
I want to say they both played against the Broncos, 24-14.
Galen Blair saying one game is the Chargers game.
No, they played together against the Broncos. They were together in that game. The game.
Yeah, but that was Colt McCoy.
Well, you're asking how many games did they play together? You mean with Kyler?
I should say that. I think that's what Jalen Blair is confirming too. Is Kyler Murray was
here's the line.
He was playing like they started against the Patriots until Kyler went down.
D-Hop against the Chargers, 4 for 87, 22 yards per catch. Good God, touchdown. And then Hollywood, first game back from injury, about 50 yards receiving. James Conner was your third receiver. Why Greg Dortch didn't get any targets in the passing game, I don't know. But James had a good day on the ground, 120 on the ground. Cardinals should have won that game. Leading tackler that day, Isaiah Simmons, with a sack and a pass defense. I had to throw that out there. I was told I don't give enough love for.
There was. I mean, you're talking about the Chargers game.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have had a tackle against Austin Eckler that kept him out of the end zone.
You said it. I didn't say that.
I'm just saying. Give him the full picture.
That's what you get from him. You get the good and the bad, right? Is that the?
He was all over. He was all over the field that day, though. And
Doc's card's not bad for a bust. Listen, there are varying degrees of being a bust.
Oh, are you throwing varying degrees?
Varying degrees of a bust. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. People have come at me on Twitter and said I'm too hard on a 23-year-old with the world in his hands and doing really well in life. Okay, I'll pump the brakes. I want Isaiah Simmons to do well. I don't want him to not do well. But I have 3 years of evidence that this is probably what we're getting. It's probably what we're getting. You're getting a guy who's not getting up his 5th-year option. What else is going on? Here's
what you're not giving up. You're not giving up a bunch of money to go buy great quality furniture over at More Furniture. More Furniture gearing up for their Memorial Day sale. You can save up to 50% over at More Furniture. They got great deals online as well as cyber deals going on. Door busters you don't want to miss out on. You definitely don't want to miss out on the white glove delivery. They'll deliver the furniture that you purchased. They'll set it up for you. They'll get rid of all the packaging. They get everything dialed in for you. Get what you need for your house, your apartment, your condo, morefurniture.com. Get in on that white glove delivery. They help furnish our studios. They're unbelievable right now. Watching games here, it's so comfy. It looks great. Check out, save big on the best furniture in the valley when you head over to morefurniture.com. That's morefurniture.com.
I mentioned at the top of the show before my mic decided not to cooperate, but go PHNX.com, the merchandise locker, to support the Phoenix Suns, to support PHNX. Check out the merchandise locker, all Suns, PHNX Suns gear. Buy one, get one half off. If you have not seen the robust list of quality Suns apparel, check it out. PHNX merchandise locker, go PHNX.com. I can't wait to dabble here. I've already got my Slim Reaper shirt, which is fantastic. I get compliments on that on the reg. I've got all different sizes, shapes, and sizes. T-shirts from the merchandise locker for the Suns. A couple I've had my eye on for a day like today. So go and take advantage. These are premium shirts at not a premium price. Buy one, get one 50% off. You cannot beat that. As load up on Suns gear, because it feels like we're in the midst of hopefully the renaissance here as they make their headway into the Western Conference Finals. At least I think so, Bo.
Mo, there's more to that, right?
Oh yeah. So if you head over to Go PHNX Locker, there's a brand new shirt, a tease shirt. We have not released it on social yet. We have not put it on any show.
What a
if
treat.
You go, you can get
shirt.
it, and it's also included in that deal. So if you want to buy a different shirt and get that one for free or vice versa, you can do that as well.
Check it out. We got merch that's not even being promoted yet, and you can get it half off.
It's like a you know, ever go to a speakeasy restaurant or a club or anything?
Sure.
It's like a speakeasy shirt. Like, hey, you didn't hear from us, but go knock on the door 3 times.
Like the secret whistle or do the secret knock.
That's right. That's you right now at phnxlocker.com. And then also buy the Bird Gang Till I Die t-shirt because it's phenomenal. I'm not quite ready to sport it yet because I want to be all Manscaped up the first time I sport it. I'll probably sport it at a BetMGM site, but get together. But how was Friday night? BetMGM Sports.
Fantastic. It was unreal. We had some ringers out there in cornhole. It was like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant type display of shooting bags. But it was a good time. It was beautiful out there on the Great Lawn. I was out there the next night for the concert, the country concert out there. Chris Stapleton, George Strait.
You might as well just live at State Farm Stadium.
I saw Zaven Collins there just navigating the crowds at the same stadium that he plays football on, and nobody bothered him. Not a single person.
I would think most people would be like, he's big, because he is. He's 6'5",
he's
6'4"
huge.
and a half.
Him and Cardinals former long snapper Aaron Brewer, they were hanging out together, and then we saw Kyler was there too.
It's like you see somebody that size, like that guy's got to be a professional athlete, and then you would Google him and go up to him. That's shocking to me. It's like maybe people are just being respectful and letting him kind of do his thing. Han doing his thing. Super chat $1.99. How about that D-book? Listen, what more can you say? And I think there's some good vibes right now with Kyler Murray and Devin Booker. I like being able to see posts, as cliche and ridiculous as it sounds, about Devin Booker and Kyler Murray together, mutual respect. People laugh when I'm like top of their game. Kyler Murray's a quarterback that has a $250 million contract. Like, he's a top quarterback in the NFL, whether you want him on the team or not. And like people like Devin Booker, like game respects game. I didn't get to go into my, rant at the top of the show because of mic problems, but basically it's just like if Devin Booker feels like K1 has earned his respect and vice versa, like that's good enough for me. Like I know Kyler Murray can ball. I saw it in high school in Oklahoma. I saw it when he first got here, and we've had a little bit of a hiccup, and now there's some grownups in charge. Like that fires me up. And I also I love seeing Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown like courtside rep in the Valley. Like I know that can get overplayed or underplayed. Like Aaron Rodgers repping the Knicks or hanging out in New York. Like people are all over that. It's like Kyler Murray courtside. People are like, oh, his outfit's stupid. And like, come on now. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like he's trying to ingratiate himself and support the place that he lives and wants to win for. I think that's great.
Devin Booker is superstar status.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's obviously he's been the best kept secret in sports for far too long. He had to deal with another dysfunctional franchise. It was the dysfunctional franchise of the Valley for far too long. And he was able to get out from under bad ownership, bad front office decisions, and lead the Suns out of a rebuild, right? But he also, he was blessed with the abilities that he was given, right? And then he put in this is like the distinct difference between people who could be a superstar and guys who are superstars. And it's putting in the work and doing this and paying attention to details, because Devin Booker wouldn't be able to navigate, opposing defenses like he does and just completely wear them down from deep, from the mid-range game to everything that Devin Booker does to impact the game. Kyler Murray needs to do that part of his job.
Yeah.
In order to reach that level. And, it's tough to have that conversation now with people not pushing back immediately. But to your point, Kyler Murray has superstar potential. Devin Booker is a superstar.
100%. And I think you can be more of an introvert and do well in the NBA and win championship. I mean, Kawhi Leonard has a lot of introvert qualities, right? And he's won multiple championships.
Yeah.
Like, we ask more of our quarterbacks. You've got to take the burden of an entire franchise in 53. I mean, it's a testosterone heavy environment, 53 men looking to kill each other. I mean, that you got to be in command of that, right? And 5-on-5 basketball, very different than line of scrimmage, 11-on-11, and picking apart Pete Carroll on a Sunday. That's tough stuff, man. That's tough to do. And I've seen Kyler Murray do it, so I know he can do it again. And I'm confident that he will as a member of this franchise.
Later this week, we're going to be doing a different showtime Thursday, as they've announced that the schedule reveal is going to go down. And Adam Schefter pointed out a couple changes to the schedule this season are coming our way that the NFL is not going to have, or it's going to have, a Black Friday game. So not only do you get the 3 games on Thanksgiving, you get a Black Friday game for the first time ever. Games don't necessarily belong to networks any longer, so all games are free agents. Wow. And then teams can be on Thursday Night Football twice. Now, that's a key thing for the Cardinals when there's really not a whole lot of fanfare behind this team and the expectations that they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Are they going to get that token Thursday night game? That's in jeopardy. And this exactly to kind of piggyback that, not all teams are guaranteed to have a primetime spot. So the Cardinals could be without a primetime game this year. It's very realistic that happens.
And you know what? That's okay. Let them get flexed in at the end of the year if they earn it. Our wives aren't going to complain if we don't have to cover a late game. I like when this team plays in their window under the radar, because historically they've played better, right? Nationally televised games with this franchise, as everybody pointed out on Twitter today when I tweeted that, it's like they're not hand in hand yet. Unless your name's Bruce Arians, he was seemingly the only coach that could do it, and Ken was not in the playoffs. So, it's the schedule release this year is going to be a little bit more methodical than in years prior. But again, first month comes out and it's not a gauntlet like last year. We'll see what this team trots out at quarterback, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, hey, thanks for sticking with us today. Bo Brock live at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. I'm Johnny Venerable. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. We are back mañana on a Tuesday. In the meantime, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Check out the merchandise locker. So many deals going on. Stay tuned for PHNX Mercury. We'll see you tomorrow.